We'll have more on that story shortly. First, though, here's Clive Palmer. He's announcing a new party to run at the election. Trumpet of Patriots is what he's calling it.
Trumpet of Patriots will make Australia great again. The Australian governments of all political persuasions have pretended that Australia is in good economic shape by using immigrants' wealth every single year for over 20 years and boast them as the government's achievements to boost our economy, when in reality the government have done nothing for the people that they represent. Too many people in Parliament are worried about not holding their seat because they know they wouldn't get a job outside. I've been in this place. I've seen the quality of the people that operate in the opposition and in the government, who share together picnics on weekends, social outings, who don't really dislike each other. Actually, they're quite adapted to each other. And that's why Australia hasn't had real democracy. That's why we've had a uniparty for many years. And that's why we haven't brought the hard questions to government departments that Elon Musk is doing in Washington at the moment, and that we've wasted the public's money. Two Australian governments have prevented too much immigration destroys our infrastructure, roads, schools and hospitals, and creates congestion and the destruction of communities. Australia should be for all Australians living here. Trumpet of Patriots will put Australians first and make Australia great again. Our policy is to recognise that there are two genders, a male and a female. We don't want men in women's sports, and we don't want males dressed as females confusing our children in our schools. All children should be entitled to a normal, safe environment in our schools and public toilets. All children must be entitled to decide who they are and what their sexual orientation is when they're adults, not have it foisted on them before they've even commenced puberty. You know, it's time to bring Kevin Rudd back from Washington. There's not too many ambassadors in Washington that have insulted the President of the United States. Kevin Rudd ranks alone in that. And Australia needs an effective representative in Washington that can support our nation in its time of toil, in a time when our living standards are declining and when our people are hungry. There's over 3.7 million Australian households in this country that don't have enough food, that can't afford it because of the cost of living that the Labor Party's brought upon them, because of the excess spending and waste in our public service. We find Australian children are going to bed at nights hungry. Ask the chairman of Food Bank, ask the people that are out there in the front line what the situation is. I'd now like to introduce to you the Trumpet of Patriots candidate for the seat of Hunter in the House of Representatives. The leader of our party, and given the strong support of our party policies by the Australian community, I believe the next Prime Minister of Australia, Sue Ellen-Wrightson. Thank you.
Thank you, Clive. And good morning, everyone. The world is changing. In the United States of America, government waste and corruption is finally being exposed. In Australia, for too long, Australians have suffered from a duopoly of power. The Labor and Liberal Party have been doing deals designed to take the Australian people's money for their own uses. The Trumpet of Patriots will stand candidates in the House of Representatives and the Senate at the upcoming election. I am proud to lead a party at this election, and I invite all like-minded Australians to join our party as we bring real change to the system. The simple reason that the cost of living is so high is because Australians are actually being ripped off by the political system and the lobbyists that support them. We can bring down the cost of living by bringing down the cost of energy. We can solve the housing crisis by fast trains from our capital cities to regional Australia to open up affordable land for housing with a 20-minute commute to the CBD. We want to make sure that Australia is for all Australians and that the Australian government does what is best for the Australian people. This is an opportunity for members of the Labor and Liberal parties to join the Trumpet of Patriots, a party that only has the interests of all Australians at its heart. The Trumpet of Patriots believes in many of the same policies as President Trump in the United States. We need common sense solutions and we need to focus on what really matters to the Australian people. Men should not be in women's sports, especially boxing. Men in women's clothing should not be confusing our children in school. Over 3.7 million households in our country are experiencing hardship in feeding their families. This is an utter disgrace. The Trumpet of Patriots, when elected, will ensure that Australians do not go to bed hungry at night. Our party is in this election to win. And I take the opportunity here today to invite the 82,000 members of the United Australia Party and members of all political parties to join us, the Trumpet of Patriots, to support me and my team at this election. We can and we will make Australia great. The Trumpet of Patriots is a registered political party with the Australian Electoral Commission. We will be on the ballot and we will reform the political process in our country to protect and defend our democracy. In the coming days and weeks, the Trumpet of Patriots will announce our policies and our candidates. And we hope to, well, we will change the state of our economy and we will bring back prosperity for all Australians. Now, we have time to take 4 or 5 questions, and you're welcome to put those questions to me or Mr Palmer, and I can see that we have one eager member of the media with his hand is already raised, so the question will be going to you, sir, but we might just do 4 or 5 because I do have a flight to get back to Newcastle to the seat of the Hunter to give it all I've got.
Well, my question is to Clive Palmer.
That's surprising.
Yeah, it is surprising, Mr Palmer.
Yeah.
What does success look like, given the notion that Sue Ellen writes that he's the next Prime Minister is plainly potty?
Well, it's certainly not potty, and that's because there's a very low entry for journalists in this country that don't have really the proper analytic skills. If we have a look about it, you'll find in the coming days that President Trump's policy in Australia has the support of more than 30% of Australians. And you'd see a party taking that same support up against the coalition. You'd see the seats falling for our party and winning seats in the House of Representatives. And that's why we're here to do it. It's happened in the United States. It'll happen in Australia too.
Mr. Palmer,
Sorry.
Mr. Palmer, you
Yes.
spent $120 million.
Yeah.
The last election, you got 1 senator elected. That's a lot of money for 1 senator. Are you sure this is the smartest use of your money? Are you going to spend that much money again? Wouldn't it be better spent upgrading a regional hospital or doing something practical for the people of Australia?
I think in reality we need to help the people of Australia out of the calamity that we're in. You'll recall at the last election we advised people that interest rates would increase. That was one of our main policies and we needed to cap them. And you'll see that the Governor of the Reserve Bank said, oh no, they're not going to go up. They'll stay as they are. And look what's happened to Australia. Interest rates have gone up. Today, we hear that the Reserve Bank's dropped the interest rate by 0.25%. Hold on. Yeah, well, it's a good use of my money to inform. Well, I can answer you if you'll let me, right? It's a good use of my money because at the last election we spent $100 million saying that the COVID vaccine wasn't safe and effective, and it's proven not to be safe and effective. And 5 million Australians didn't have the vaccine. That's $20 each based on your calculations, and that was a good investment. And certainly it's a good investment to free this country from the waste and corruption that is occupying the public service and the government, from the lobbyists who are in this House every day to see members of Parliament. I've been here, I've met them, I've heard what they've wanted to say, and that's not the way you should govern a country. So I'm more than happy to spend my funds on something productive, defending the right of free speech, and whatever's required to be spent, it'll be spent. Thank you. Yeah.
How will you preference the major
parties. And can you just clarify, will you run candidates in all seats or just those held by Liberals and Liberals?
Well,